What's going on, Guardians? It's Sizzle here, and in this video I want to show you the build that I'll be taking into final shape on day one. This is Prismatic build, even though I'm on Void, and I just got rid of the fragments that hurt my stats. And basically this build centers around Gerfalcon's Hauberk. So your Void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible. When you are invisible and defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons gain bonus damage. You and your nearby allies gain a reserve overshield and improved class ability regen. These reserve overshields can be deployed by using your class ability. And then here's just some community insights for you. So it's 500% additional base class ability regen, which is crazy. 35% weapon damage buff for 6 seconds, which is also crazy. A reserve overshield. So yeah, this is actually really strong. Most people just use it for the volatile rounds, but there is more to it. And again, you can just see that laid out a little differently here in the Destiny data compendium. So now that we know what exotic we're using, let's just go over the builds. So I'm focusing on all the starting aspects, fragments, all that stuff. So while other things may be better, like for instance, I would love to run this with Snare Bomb because we can get like Radiant and then we could also weaken with Snare Bomb. So that would be extremely strong, but we can't in the first mission at least. I don't know how long it's going to take to get the aspects and fragments. So let's just look at that. I will be running Gambler's Dodge, though you could run Marksman or Acrobats if you like. There's a case to be made for Golden Gun Marksman or Silence and Squall, which I'll get to in a bit. So again, that's up to you. I use Triple Jump. And then we're going to be using Withering Blade. This gives us two melee charges instead of one, which is really nice. And then Duskfield Grenade, because I am not really sold on Swarm Grenades, even though they got a buff. And then Winter Shroud and Stylus Executioner. So I kind of talked about Stylus Executioner already, but I want to point this out. So their starting Prismatic builds enable, so with Winter Shroud providing a handy debuff, that's Stylus Executioner, which now triggers by defeating an enemy afflicted by any subclass debuff. So that's things like Slow, Jolt, Scorch, what are some other debuffs? Unravel, Weaken, so any subclass debuff. So Stylus Executioner, geez, I can't talk, on Prismatic is going to be very, very strong. So yeah, I'm really excited about this build. And Winter Shroud is also getting a buff, as it must not be this one, must not be this one, right here. So slowing targets briefly increases your class ability regen rate, which we already get help from with Gerfalcons, and then now grants PvE damage reduction when activated. So that's going to be really nice. Basically, you can just dodge by an enemy. You're going to get DR and you're going to slow them. And then you're going to be able to take them out with your Wave Splitter. And because that's the weapon we're running. So let's look at that really quickly. So Wave Splitter, how it works is collecting an orb of power grants a period of maximum power that starts with an automatic reload. Sustained fire in this mode suppresses targets. So you can also suppress targets. We're going to be applying volatile because of Gerfalcons, and it's going to be charged up all the time basically because we're going to be making lots of orbs because we have Void Siphon on our helmet. So every Void kill that we get, or Void multi-kill we get, we're going to make an orb. And we also have Reaper on our class item, so we just dodge. And again, I already talked about how you can get your dodge back really quickly. So you just dodge, your next kill will make an orb, you pick that up, and when I get into it, basically when we pick that orb up, we're going to get 22% damage buff from 3 Void weapon surges on our boots, and we're going to get Radiant from the artifact. But I will get to all that in a minute. I just kind of wanted to show the high level overview of the build. So you've seen, geez, I'm all over the place here. So you've seen what we're starting with, but now let's talk about the fragments because they're important. So powered melee hits against targets make you radiant, and if you get final blows, it'll make allies radiant. So right there, that's how we're getting radiant super, super easily. And again, this is a starting fragment. I'm not even going to be looking at any of these other fragments, even though they might synergize better. This is a starting build for when you load in on Tuesday. So Facet of Hope, while you have an elemental buff, your class ability regens more quickly. So again, quicker class ability. And then Facet of Protection, while surrounded by enemies, you're more resistant to incoming damage. So we're getting DR there, and then when we dodge with Winter Shroud, we're getting more DR, and we're slowing the enemies. So we're going to be very, very tanky. Facet of Purpose, picking up an orb of power grants either Amplified, Restoration, all these things based on your super. So Frost Armor will give even more DR, or if you're running Golden Gun, which again, I talked about, you can run either. That's your call. Basically, this is the reason. Do you want Resto or do you want Frost Armor? Personally, I'm going to be trying both out. I can't tell you right now which will be better because I haven't played with Frost Armor, but Resto is a very, very strong verb or keyword. And then Facet of Ruin. This increases the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or frozen target. And we're not really concerned about the solar ignitions because we don't have anything for that. But shattering a frozen target, I will get to. Because, again, we have Duskfield and Withering Blade and Winter Shroud. So slow stacks up to 100 and then it freezes. So we're going to be able to slow and freeze a lot of things. And then that's going to proc Facet of Ruin. So we're going to get shatter damage. So we're going to get some AoE, which is really nice. And yeah, that's basically that. I guess I should go through all the mods and the weapons before I get to the artifact perks. So that's, like I said, kind of the overview of the build. Void Siphon so that we can make orbs. Reaper so we can make orbs easier. Powerful Attraction. Again, we're getting so many dodges because of all those things that contribute to our dodge cooldown. So we can just dodge to pick up the orbs. So that's going to be really easy. That gives us triple Void Surge. Gives us our full power Wave Splitter. And if we just throw out a melee, that's an elemental debuff. So it's going to make us invis, which will give us volatile rounds. So extremely, extremely strong. And then we have this Falling Guillotine with Frenzy or Relentless Strikes or Bait and Switch or Sword Logic. I'm probably going Frenzy and maybe Sword Logic if I use it for ad clear, or this if there's lots of like high health targets around. Just depends. So yeah, this is an excellent roll. Or what I was going to run until I saw the artifact was Edge Transit. So Cascade Point Bait and Switch, very good burst DPS. And then you could also run Hollow Denial if you wanted. And this one has Repulsor Brace, so you could get overshields. And then you could run Deterministic Chaos or Truth, which are both getting buffs. Braytech Osprey is another nice Void one, but I would stick to Void. And then up here with Deliverance, this is going to give us stasis damage. So our weapons are very focused into light. But again, our abilities with Duskfield and Shurikens and stuff, those are darkness, and you have to do light and dark damage to get Transcendence. So this is where Deliverance comes into play. You could run Mountaintop. This gives both, and I've got Autoloading Recombination, which is really nice because these are going to be our main ad clear things. So that's a nice roll. Lingering Dread if it's a bit harder content. So this is Chill Clip, and then I can put something else because they're deprecating spec mods. But then Disorienting Grenades. So that's going to disorient enemies. So it just helps with survivability. But again, we're getting a lot of DR. And depending what super you run, you could also get Resto. So anyways, Deliverance with Chill Clip. This Chill Clip is getting a buff on everything except Rapid Fire Fusions. So this will be able to freeze in 2 shots, which is really strong. Or you just shoot like 1 shot. And if it's already in a Dusk Field, or if it's already in a like hit by a shuriken or hit by your dodge, then it will freeze probably in 1 shot, and then you're going to proc this greater shatter burst size and damage. So yeah, that's how that works. And now if we go to the artifact, I have written down here my artifact mods. So we'll get to the sword ones at the end. So Creeping Chill first. So Stasis Weapon Final Blows against slowed or frozen targets release a burst that slows. So now we're getting from that fragment like a bigger burst for damage, and then that burst is going to slow from our Stasis Weapon Final Blows, so you could get a Final Blow with Deliverance. So that's going to work nicely. Void Hegemony. So while you have a Void or Prismatic subclass, so Prismatic, defeating weakened targets provides a small overshield. So again, we don't have a way to weaken, but you could run like Buried Bloodline if you wanted, but then again, anyway, this is more for once we unlock Snare Bomb, but I don't know how long that'll be. So this one may not apply off the rip, and then Expanding Abyss could be very strong. But again, we don't really have a way to weaken with this build. But in the future, once you get the Smoke Bomb, that could be really good, and Smoke Bombs are getting buffed. So then we have Radiant Orbs. While you have a Solar or Prismatic subclass, picking up an Orb of Power makes you Radiant. So I already talked about this whole build is all about making Orbs of Power, and then we're going to be able to get Radiant from that or from our melee. So again, 22% damage bonus from the Void Surge and 25% from Radiant Orbs or the Fragment where we get a melee hit. And then Shield Crush is going to be very, very good. So again, we might be able to have Frost Armor depending which super we're running. Your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage, but I'm not so concerned about that because shurikens aren't really known for like dealing damage. But the second one, while you have Amplified or Radiant, and we're going to be Radiant pretty much all the time, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. So again, and then with Gambler's Dodge, we're going to be able to get our Withering Blade back pretty much constantly. So yeah, that's very, very good. And then that was Shield Crush. Transference. Gain increased grenade and melee damage while Transcendent. Weapon final blows while Transcendent. So again, this will just help us get Transcendent a little easier. But this one isn't really so much about getting Transcendent. My Titan one certainly is. That one you're going to be Transcendent all the time, and it's like all ability based, where this one is very weapon based. And now let's quickly talk about the sword perks, because they're very, very strong. Landing consecutive hits. So this is Overload Sword. Basically, when something's overloaded, it lowers their damage output. This works on things, not just Overload champions. This can work on like any enemy, but most will die to a sword. But like on a high health target, this will lower its damage output. So that's very strong. Blade Stamina. Rapidly defeating combatants with a sword refunds some ammo. Any ammo refund is very nice, especially because if you didn't notice, I'm sure you did though, this is a double special build, but all of these weapons are fairly ammo efficient. But if you are struggling, you could take off one Void Surge and put on a Void Scavenger. But yeah, I ran this, like I said, in the Legend 50 Onslaught and beat it no problem, but you did have ammo crates there. That being said, I still think you'll be fine because Trace Rifles in general are relatively ammo efficient. And then yeah, we'll be getting sword ammo back, and if I was running Relentless Strikes, I could get even more sword ammo back. So yeah, it depends. I'm just gonna have to play with the build and see if I'm ever hurting on ammo, but this will definitely help. And then Argent Blade, I'm presuming this is a 15% damage bonus on top of all those other bonuses, because Argent Ordnance this season did stack on top of everything else. So there's no reason to believe that this won't stack with things like Radiant and Surges. And again, even after all that, if we go here, this finisher grants 35% increased damage for 6 seconds. I'm not sure if that overtakes Radiant or what it does, but anyways, just even more damage. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. I will have a dim link down below. But yeah, this one is very weapon focused, and I think it's going to be very, very strong. I'm super pumped to run it, and I'm really pumped just about the artifact and like the Void stuff that they have on it. Even though I'm going to be running like Prismatic, I haven't ran Void in quite a while, and I'm just kind of sick of Solar. But anyways, this build I'm super, super excited for. The Titan build tomorrow I'm even more excited for. That's the one I'm starting the final shape on, because that's just going to be pure ability spam, just demolish everything. And yeah, it's awesome. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss that video. But if you're still watching this one, then thanks so much for watching to the end. It means a lot. And yeah, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Take care.